Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 SimPilot. Today we have a slightly different video for you. This is a sponsored video from the team over at MiniCockpit, and today they want me to talk to you about the MiniFCU, an upcoming hardware version of the FCU, which is an important and key part of the A320 flying experience. It is currently in Kickstarter. I'm sure many of you have heard about it, but today we're going to look at some of the features and also discuss the FCU in the A320. This is a really important feature. It is something that we interact with every time we get into the A320. It is completely intertwined with the flight guidance and automation of the A320, and it is, I think, ergonomic masterpiece of aviation design, the FCU in the A320. So like I say, today we're going to take a look at the upcoming MiniFCU from the team at MiniCockpit. So let's jump into this A320 and take a look at it and see why it's so important. So here we have the FCU, or Flight Control Unit. The FCU is actually, this full panel includes the EFIS parts, but the automatic guidance part of the FCU is this middle bit, and that's what we're talking about today. That is what is on offer and currently in the Kickstarter from MiniCockpit, their MiniFCU. This is a crucial part of flying the A320. Like I say, it is how we interact with the automatics of the aircraft. So let's get this aircraft into the air and have a look at it in action. So before we look at the FCU in use in flight in the A320, let's talk about the MiniFCU. This is a sponsored video by the MiniCockpit team to bring you information about the Kickstarter that is running right now, ending soon on the 30th of June for the MiniFCU. This is a piece of hardware that you'll be able to purchase at a discounted rate if you get in on the Kickstarter in time, and it will be a unit that you can put on your desk via a single USB cable, and you can then have an FCU of your own in your flight sim setup. It's 80% size, as you can see here, compared to the real version, which makes it convenient and possible for you to put it out of the way whilst you use it. It will feature full pull and push buttons, of course, and a custom LCD display, as you can see there, giving you all of the correct units in the right place. It is going to be able to have the correct number of notches on the heading bug, and it provides you with the ergonomic advantage of having an FCU available when you're trying to operate the aircraft. It'll be the complete unit as you see here, and in the future, although this is only for the MiniFCU, there are expansions potentially planned in the Kickstarter. But for now, this Kickstarter is for that MiniFCU in the middle. Currently, the price lowest available on the Kickstarter of $159. The recommended retail price after the Kickstarter will be $249. So like I say, 30th of June, the Kickstarter ends. That is your last chance to get a hold of it at the discounted price. I'll be talking about it later on in November when I get my unit, but I thought it's something that viewers of this channel would be particularly interested in. Like I say, it's backlit correctly, compact 80% size. You can interchange the Flight Director LS button with the Expedite button, which is a key feature we'll talk about later on. Support for the following aircraft on launch: the TOLIS A319, 20, 21 and A340, the Flight Vector A320, the X Plane 12 A330, and then in Microsoft Flight Simulator it supports the A320, the fly-by-wire A320NX and the Headwind A330 Neos. Also the Phoenix Simulations A320 CEO, although with the Phoenix Simulations aircraft, which is what we have here, due to technical reasons, the numbers from the FCU in the sim will not appear on the MiniFCU, but the controls will still work, so you can still use it ergonomically to control your aircraft and the automatics in the A320. For those of you new to the Airbus, I'm now going to run through a little demonstration of what the FCU does for us on the automatics of the A320 aircraft and how it's pretty unique to the Airbus and such an integral part of Airbus operations. Some key features of the real one is that we have these dashed lines with dots to tell us that this is being controlled by the aircraft. So we don't need to see the speed here because we're not choosing it ourselves. It's called managed speed. Same for heading, which we are giving control to the aircraft by pushing it in this control. But if we want to take it for ourselves, we can pull out the control. Same for the speed. I can pull out the speed and I will have it selected for myself and it appears. But if I want to give it to the aircraft, you push it in. This is a simple but very effective method of control and something I really like, and like I say, a bit of an ergonomic masterpiece on the A320 aircraft. So here we are in flight. Let's go back to the FCU and here we go. So there are some key advantages to having this available in hardware in that we interact with it a lot. On takeoff, one of the things you can do quite early on in the Airbus is engage the autopilot, which you do by pressing one of these autopilot buttons. Again, this will be available in the Mini Cockpit FCU. You can also disconnect the autopilot by pressing that button again, although that's not the natural way. So you might want to combine this with your current hardware. For example, I'll be combining it with my Thrustmaster side stick. This X Plane button, like I say, is not used very often in the real aircraft. What it does is if you were to have a higher altitude in there, let's say we wanted to climb to flight level 120 and we were told to expedite, I could set standard and press expedite, and then you'll see that the aircraft actually goes into thrust climb, expedite climb, and starts rocketing up. It will reduce the speed, target speed to green dot. This gives it a very high angle of climb, but it's not very efficient and not used very often. We can also just pull the altitude control. If I put it here, then you'll see that we go into open climb, and that should allow the aircraft, if it lowers the nose, there we go, to accelerate to the en route climb speed planned out by the FMGC. As I said earlier, key interactions include dashes to say that the computer, or the FMGC, the Flight Management Guidance Computer, is in control. I can pull the speed and then select my own, so by putting it towards me, I'm taking control of that. This is much easier to do with a hardware item in front of you than it is, of course, with a mouse. Again, it's important to note I have not reviewed the MiniFCU. I have not seen it yet. I am just making this video to make you aware of the Kickstarter campaign if that's something you are interested in. As we wind the speed up, the aircraft can accelerate, and then we can give back control to the airplane. Exactly the same principle for the heading. Now, as you can see, the MiniFCU will feature all of these buttons. So you'll have the speed Mach conversion option. This allows you to swap between speed and Mach when you are in when you desire. We're a bit low here, but there we go. If we go to Mach 0.38, it's pretty slow. You'd usually use this higher up, or if you're converting slightly earlier or later between Mach numbers and speed numbers. You'll also have the heading track vs FPA button, which is actually the heading vertical speed or track FPA button. Currently flying along in heading, I can engage a track, changes the mode. We're in track mode now, and the aircraft will fly the selected track. The track does take into account wind, so the aircraft will now fly 073 degrees over the ground. Again, handy to have there, often used on a non-precision approach. As you disconnect the autopilot, you'll turn off the flight directors, and then you will ask for the bird, which means pressing this button, which brings up the flight path vector, or we call it the bird on the Airbus. So you can see that these things are done quite naturally by pilots with this unit right in front of them, and it's quite difficult to do. On many non-precision approaches I have flown in Flight Simulator, I often mentioned it where I won't actually convert over because I don't have the hardware in front of me. So that is a really handy feature, I think, or it will be. Auto throttle you can disconnect via this button here, or you can use the instinctive buttons down there. So again, might want to combine with your other hardware. The X Plane button, like I say, not used very often, so will be swappable. You could change it for the LS button, which brings up your landing system or landing scales, which is what we use for ILS approaches. Far more useful, I think. You could also make it the flight director button, even more useful, I would say, where you can turn on and off the flight directors like that. But that button would be appearing here. So slightly out of place, but nice to have swappable abilities. Metric altitude up here, you can press to engage meters or show meters, and then you have your vertical speed control. You can pull and adjust as required to take control. If you push it in, this is the only one that doesn't give control back to the airplane. When you push in the vertical speed, it commands 0, which is why it says push to level off, which is written on and backlit on the MiniFCU. So quite exciting, quite an exciting idea. And there we go, it just goes to vertical speed 0. So let's put it back into climb to 120, first climb open climb. Can't go into managed climb right now because we're not on the route, and we can give ourselves a direct. So there we go, a brief rundown of the FCU and some of its uses, although there is plenty more. It's a complex thing and very integral to the Airbus. I have plenty of videos and tutorials on the channel if you'd like to see more. That's all for today then. Thank you for watching. As I said, a sponsored video today, quite unusual for us, but a sponsored video from MiniFCU for this upcoming hardware. Kickstarter ending on the 30th of June. So that is the last chance to get it at the discounted price of $159. RRP later will be $249. There'll be more videos to come on the channel as well as the podcast and live stream, so do please stay tuned for those. Otherwise, keep safe and well. We'll see you again in another video soon. Bye bye.